Today we are jumping into what feels like the most extreme climate in tech history, maybe ever. We're talking about the AI gold rush.
It really is. And it's more than just a gold rush. It's this high-stakes, almost existential game of go big or go home.
Right.
We are watching startups raise sums of money that would take years to get just a little while ago, and now it's happening in, what, a few weeks. They're betting everything.
Exactly. And that's our focus today. We're looking at the reality of this high-stakes environment through the lens of one specific company, Product Science. They're right at this really critical intersection of AI performance and cloud economics.
And our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack this. What are the VC trends that are driving these insane valuations?
And how is a challenger like Product Science even attempting to disrupt two enormous established enterprise markets? We're talking mobile performance and cloud costs.
And finally, what is the actual strategic risk they're taking? I mean, they're going head-to-head with absolute giants in the field.
Okay, let's start with the money, the financial environment. Because the data we have from 2024, it just sets the stage for everything else. It really creates this climate of AI dominance.
It does. The data from Carta paints a pretty astonishing picture. I mean, in 2024 alone, AI startups raised a collective $26.9 billion.
26.9.
Billion. And that starts from the earliest seed stage all the way through the later growth rounds.
And get this, that number represents about 1/3 of all venture funding for the entire year.
Exactly. 33%.
Think about that for a second. You've got the entire global tech landscape, biotech, fintech, SaaS, e-commerce, everything. And a single category, just AI, is sucking up 1/3 of all the capital.
It's a massive structural shift. It shows where the smart money believes all the future value is going to be created.
And it wasn't just, a bunch of speculative early bets.
No, that's a key point. This wasn't just isolated to the seed stage. The investment was spread across all the stages. Seed, Series A, Series B, you name it. It shows investors were confident, placing huge bets at the beginning and doubling down as these companies grew.
But this is where the winner-take-all idea really starts to take shape, right? The concentration at the top.
Oh, it intensifies dramatically. When you look at just the late-stage funding, so we're talking Series E and beyond, the numbers get even more wild.
How so?
AI startups accounted for 48% of all the capital raised in that late-stage group.
48%. So almost half of all the money going into mature late-stage companies went into one single category.
That's right.
That's historically, that's almost unheard of. It just begs the question, why? Why is the market pouring so much capital into one basket?
Because investors don't see AI as just another vertical. They see it as the new foundational layer of everything.
Like the new cloud or the new mobile.
Exactly. It's not a niche. It's the infrastructure that's going to cut across finance, healthcare, SaaS, everything. So investing in a core AI company isn't a niche bet. It's like buying a piece of the next generation of computing itself.
And the price of admission for that is steep. That perception translates directly into the valuations these companies are getting.
Oh, absolutely. The valuation premium is staggering. Let's look at the numbers. For a seed round in 2024, the median pre-money valuation for an AI startup was $17.9 million.
Okay.
That is 42% higher than a non-AI company at the same stage.
Wait, 42%? That's not a small bump. That means an AI founder with maybe just an idea and a prototype is starting with almost half again the valuation of a traditional SaaS company that might even have customers.
Right. And investors are willing to swallow that because they're not just buying software, they're buying a future moat.
A defensible position.
Yes. That 42% premium is the price of entry for a business model that, in theory, is defensible because of its proprietary data and algorithms. They need these startups to raise big and raise early, to lock up the talent and the data before anyone else can.
And this premium just keeps growing.
It accelerates. At Series A, the median valuation for an AI company jumped to over $50 million, $51.9 million to be exact.
Wow.
And by Series B, the gap gets even wider. The median AI valuation hit $143 million.
$143 million.
And that's a full 50% higher than their non-AI peers at the exact same stage. It's a high-stakes gamble that this one company won't just improve a market, but completely dominate it.
What's so interesting here is the paradox of efficiency. AI as a technology promises lean teams, automation, high efficiency.
Right.
So if the tech is so efficient, why are AI startups raising 20% larger rounds at seed and Series A than everyone else? Why do they need more money?
That is such a critical question. And it gets to the heart of this go big or go home idea. It's not about covering operational waste. It's about the cost of building and defending that moat.
Okay.
The capital isn't for a huge sales team. It's for data acquisition, which can be
Yeah.
incredibly expensive. It's for massive amounts of dedicated compute power, all the specialized GPUs you need to train these models. And it's for the talent to keep refining the algorithms to stay ahead.
So the big funding round is actually a weapon. It's a strategic necessity to build a technical lead that's just too big for anyone else to catch up to.
Exactly. It creates this huge barrier to entry. And this brings us right to our case study, product science.
Founded in 2021, right as this was all starting to bubble up. And then they secured a massive $18 million seed round in January of 2023. They're square in the middle of this high-stakes game.
Their founding story is really important here. The company was started by 4 siblings, Maria, Anna, David, and Daniel Lieberman.
4 siblings.
Yes, and they've been building startups together since 2006. So they have this long history of working together with deep expertise in things like computer vision, graphics, and AR.
And they've operated at a massive scale before. They had a previous startup, Kernel AR, that was acquired by Snap back in 2016.
Right, and at Snap, they were central to developing the 3D Bitmoji avatars. That's a project that created over 1 billion avatars and had 250 million daily active users.
So they know what it means to engineer for a global, latency-sensitive mobile product.
They absolutely do. And their mission statement reflects that experience. They want to eliminate delays caused by software inefficiency for people worldwide. They call time humanity's most valuable non-renewable resource.
So this whole idea came from a pain point they experienced directly.
It came directly from their time at Snap. In 2018, they were leading a project to revamp the Android app, trying to boost growth. And the key was solving performance issues.
And the tools they had just weren't cutting it.
They realized the existing tools, the standard APM, application performance management tools, were just totally ineffective for the complexity of a modern mobile app. They were fine for tracking what was happening on the server.
Sure, is the database up?
Exactly. But for figuring out what was causing lag and slowness on the user's actual phone, the tools were basically useless. That's when they decided to leave and reinvent the industry using AI.
And the market clearly agreed. That $18 million seed round wasn't just big, it was backed by a who's who of investors. Co2, Slow Ventures, K5 Global.
And crucially, some really influential angel investors. We're talking Benchmark's general partner Peter Fenton and Insight Partners co-founder Jerry Murdoch.
When you see names like that on a seed round, it's about more than the money.
It's a massive signal. It's validation. It says the market believes in this team and, more importantly, believes in the proprietary AI advantage they claim to have. It gives them the war chest they need to even think about challenging the incumbents.
And that huge amount of capital informs their strategy. They couldn't just solve one small problem. They immediately went after 2 huge areas of enterprise pain.
That's the brilliance of their strategy. It addresses 2 massive but distinct market forces at the same time.
The first being mobile performance.
Right, which is a huge deal for any B2C company trying to reduce customer churn. The data is clear. If your app is laggy, 53% of users might just uninstall it.
And then the second pillar.
Code tuner for cloud. This goes right after operational expenses. In a market where every CFO is demanding cuts, reducing your cloud bill is a must-have, not a nice-to-have.
Okay, let's dig into that first pillar then. Mobile performance. It feels like this should be a solved problem by now, right? Phones are fast, networks are better.
You'd think so, but that's the classic blind spot. Performance degrades over time, often in ways developers don't even see. They're testing on the latest iPhone with a perfect Wi-Fi connection.
But the long-tail users.
Exactly. The people on older phones, spotty networks, low memory, their experience gets significantly worse. And that gap between the developer's reality and the user's reality is where churn happens.
And the traditional monitoring tools, your sentries or your data dogs, they struggle to see into that gap.
They really do. They're great at telling you that a problem exists, a spike in latency and error log, but they have a really hard time telling you the precise root cause on the actual mobile device.
So how does product science approach this differently? What's the AI actually doing?
Okay, so a modern mobile app it's like this incredibly complex maze. The source material calls it a 4-dimensional maze. You have dozens of different threads of code all running at the same time, all competing for the phone's resources.
Like a huge, chaotic city traffic grid.
That's a perfect analogy. Traditional tools are like a traffic camera. They can tell you where the traffic jam is, but they can't tell you why it started. They just see all the cars or threads bottlenecked. They can't follow the one critical delivery truck, the main execution path that actually needs to get through.
So they get lost in the noise. How does product science's AI navigate that maze?
This is the core of their IP. The AI is designed to identify the single, most critical execution path for any given user action.
So if I tap load profile, it filters out all the background noise.
All the housekeeping threads, all the non-essential updates, and it shows the engineer the one chain of events that is making that profile load slowly. It reduces debugging time from days to minutes.
It separates the signal from the noise.
Precisely. And they automate the whole process of finding this. They use AI-powered plugins that get added right into the build process. So instead of an engineer manually adding tracking code everywhere,
Which they never have time to do.
right, the AI automatically figures out where to look and injects the instrumentation. It makes deep performance analysis accessible to every single engineer, not just the specialists.
And the Saturn case study really brings this to life. This is the aha moment that shows what their tech can do.
It is. So Saturn is a social media app. They were having user retention issues, and they suspected it was performance. Their existing standard industry tools measured their average app start time at zero point 0.6 seconds.
Which sounds great. Really fast.
On paper, it's fantastic,
Yeah.
but it completely contradicted the user complaints they were getting.
So there was a huge latency gap between what the tools were reporting and what users were actually feeling.
A massive one. Product Science's analysis showed that the true waiting time, the time until a user could actually interact with the app in a meaningful way, was 4 seconds.
4 seconds. That's an eternity in the mobile world. What were the old tools missing?
They were probably just measuring the initial server handshake. They were completely missing all the client-side processing, the rendering delays, the resource contention happening on the phone itself. That 4 seconds versus zero point 0.6 seconds, that's the moat.
And once they had that insight,
The results were immediate. The engineers knew exactly where to look. They cut the wait time from 4 seconds down to 1.8 seconds in the first month.
well,
And then they got it down to 0.7 seconds in the second month. It's a perfect example of their platform finding issues that are functionally invisible to their competitors.
and they're making this even easier to understand with a new UI feature, right? Synchronizing video recordings with the code traces.
Yes, and this is a brilliant feature for bridging the gap between product and engineering. An engineer is usually just staring at a wall of text, a code trace.
Trying to imagine what was happening on the screen at that exact millisecond.
Right. This feature changes that entirely. You can literally watch a video of the app freezing, and as you scrub through the video, you see the exact line of code that was executing at that moment highlighted in the trace.
That makes it so much more intuitive. It connects the code directly to the user's pain.
It makes it natural. Okay, so that's one side of their bet-solving B2C churn. The other side is that strategic pivot into the enterprise's biggest headache.
Yeah.
Cloud costs.
With their code tuner for cloud product, this is such a smart move, shifting from a growth enabler to a cost reduction utility.
In this market, it's a survival mechanism. Every big company is trying to get its cloud bill under control. But the existing tools, the FinOps solutions, they have a major blind spot.
They can tell you how much you're spending, right?
They can, but only at a very high level. They're based on billing reports. So they'll tell you, Project X spent $500,000 this month.
But they can't tell you why.
They can't tell you which specific piece of code written by which engineer on which day caused that bill. So optimization becomes this big guessing game of right-sizing servers instead of precision engineering.
You lack true granularity.
Exactly. So CodeTuner for Cloud applies the same core idea to this problem. It addresses the true source of cloud costs, which is the code itself.
How does it do that?
It delivers what they call a total cost per executed method. It tracks usage and cost down to the individual function level.
That is a fundamental shift. It takes cloud costs from being a finance problem to being an engineering problem that every single developer is accountable for.
It does. And the way they calculate that total cost is through their traceability and correlation engine. It doesn't just track the direct cost of an API call, it tracks the entire ripple effect.
The ripple effect, let's unpack that because that's where the hidden costs are.
It is. So think about one single function call, like process order. That one call might trigger a whole cascade of events behind the scenes.
It's not just one thing.
No, it might launch 3 SQL queries, 2 serverless functions, pull some data from storage, maybe even make an AI inference call. Traditional tools see the total bill for the database or the ML service, but they can't accurately trace that cost back to the specific line of code in the process order function that started it all.
They see the bill, but not the cause.
Correct. CodeTuner traces all of it, the direct cost and all the indirect associated costs, and correlates it back to the specific function execution. It gives you a complete 3D view of what's driving your costs.
Which means engineers can see the cost impact of their code changes in near real time.
Yes. Optimization becomes continuous and predictive, baked into the daily workflow instead of a once-a-quarter audit.
So this specialized surgical precision is their weapon, but they're aiming it at a battlefield dominated by giants. We're talking Datadog, New Relic, a market worth billions.
And they know they can't replace the entire stack. That would be suicide. Their strategy is to be a surgical tool that solves the most painful, most expensive problems that the incumbents, because of their legacy architecture, just can't handle well.
Okay, let's talk about Datadog. They're the leader in cloud observability. What's their weak spot?
Datadog is incredibly strong in infrastructure monitoring and broad full-stack observability. The problem, as many of their customers will tell you, is fragmentation and cost.
Oh, so?
Their platform is built on silos, logs, APM, infrastructure. These are often separate products on separate telemetry platforms. So correlating an issue across them is a manual, difficult process.
And the pricing model makes it worse.
Their pricing is notoriously complex. They price per host, per gigabyte of ingested data, per user. It's all over the place. So if you have an environment where containers are constantly restarting, each one might register as a new host, and your bill can just explode without warning.
So it's unpredictable.
Hugely.
Yeah.
That's a massive pain point that CodeTuner for Cloud, with its clear ROI tied to function-level cost, is designed to exploit.
Then you have New Relic, which really tried to solve that complexity problem.
They did. New Relic's big push was a unified platform, a single data experience to eliminate those silos. And they introduced a much more predictable consumption-based pricing model.
Right. You pay for the data you ingest, not for every host that spins up.
It's a much better model for predictable billing.
Yeah.
And they have great mobile and browser monitoring. But even with that unified approach, they still struggle to provide that microscopic function-level financial attribution that CodeTuner's claiming. They can tell you your code is slow, but they can't tell you it costs you 3 cents every time that specific function runs.
So product science's strategy isn't to be broader. It's to be infinitely deeper on two very specific, very expensive problems.
It's surgical precision aimed at the biggest line items on the P&L. They're not a replacement. They're an essential utility for fixing churn and cutting cloud waste.
But this entire thing hinges on their technical lead being durable. I mean, what's to stop Datadog or New Relic with their armies of engineers from just building this themselves?
That is the existential bet. That's what the $18 million is for. To prove that their proprietary AI correlation engine is so advanced that it can't be easily replicated or integrated into a legacy platform.
Which brings us to the bigger intellectual challenge here. How do we scrutinize these claims about proprietary AI?
We have to. In a market where billions are being invested based on these promises, we need rigorous independent validation.
There's a really interesting parallel here with consumer psychology, right? The difference between something being scientifically studied versus scientifically proven.
Yes, there's a fascinating UCLA study on this. It showed that people constantly misremember the phrase clinically studied as the much stronger claim, clinically proven.
And clinically studied just means someone was interested enough to look at it. It doesn't mean the study was good or that it proved anything.
Exactly. Only 26% of people remembered the correct, vague phrase. The vast majority just remembered the gist, and the gist was proven.
And that's exactly what happens with AI startups. A company talks about its cutting-edge AI technology, and the market hears proven game changer.
Right. They lean toward believing it's an immediate, definitive solution rather than a novel method that still requires years of objective validation.
For product science, their whole valuation, that 50% premium we talked about, depends on the market accepting that their AI correlation engine truly is superior to what Datadog and New Relic can do.
It's a level of scrutiny that you see in a courtroom. If you're using science in litigation, it's not enough to just detect a substance. You have to prove, with reliable methodology, that it poses a quantifiable risk.
So for CodeTuner, it's not enough to just show they can trace costs.
No. They have to reliably and repeatedly prove that this tracing leads to measurable, massive, and defensible cost savings that are superior to anything the incumbents can offer. That's the only way they can justify the next valuation.
Okay, so let's bring this all back together. What's the core tension we're looking at here?
You have a founding team with a proven track record at scale. They found a huge market pain point, and they secured a massive capital injection based on a specialized AI solution.
In a funding environment that absolutely demands a go big or go home approach, that $18 million seed round is the runway they need to attack two huge, entrenched markets.
And they're doing it with two products built on the same core engine. One, to stop customer churn by optimizing mobile performance.
Taking wait times from 4 seconds to under 1.
And the other, Code Tuner for Cloud, to turn cloud cost management from a guessing game into a precise engineering discipline.
Their whole value proposition is that proprietary code-level correlation engine. It connects a business outcome like churn or costs directly to the line of code that caused it.
It shifts them from being a nice-to-have growth tool to an essential must-have cost-cutting utility. And in this market, that's how you survive.
So the final question, the whole bet, really, is whether their specialized technical moat can be defended against the sheer might and capital of a Datadog or a New Relic.
And that's the provocative thought we want to leave you with. Is this a truly disruptive breakthrough, a company that can carve out its own multi-billion-dollar market and go public?
Or is it an incredibly valuable feature set, a strategic acquisition just waiting to happen that an incumbent will eventually just buy to plug a hole in their own platform?
The cost of playing this AI game is so high that it demands one of two outcomes. Total market domination or a massive exit. There's not much room in between.
But now, knowing the scale of the AI bet, the specific technical claims, and the weaknesses of the giants they're facing, you have the data to start considering the odds.